Dear viewers, welcome to the show POWERchat, Nepal's only TV talk show in English discussing developments since 2016. We wish our esteemed viewers a very happy, healthy and prosperous new year through the very first episode of the year 2021. Tonight, we are discussing about approaches to revamping tourism, and I am joined tonight by Ms. Nandini Lahe Thapa. She is the Senior Director of PR and Publicity at Nepal Tourism Board. I'm also joined by Mr. Khum Bahadur Subedi, President of Trekking Agencies Association of Nepal. Let's talk. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Well, through this episode, we are going to discuss about approaches to revamping tourism. I would like to start with Ms. Thapa. You have been working with Nepal Tourism Board for a long time and looking after the PR and publicity. What is your observation about the overall tourism issues in Nepal post COVID-19 pandemic?
Right. First of all, I want to wish all the viewers a very, very happy new year, and I would like to thank you for giving us this wonderful opportunity to discuss tourism, which is really a very, very important segment of the industry in Nepal. And unfortunately, COVID has really hit us very hard, and the big difference, I think, because we also had a big crisis in 2015, but in 2015 it was Nepal that had the earthquake, but the rest of the world was fine. So as soon as things normalized here, we started having arrivals. But right now, with this horrible scenario with COVID, people are not willing to travel, and obviously, like everywhere else, it has affected our industry tremendously. I mean, we are really in terrible doldrums, but we are hoping now with the vaccine coming in that we are going to see a recovery sooner if not later.
Could you tell us the key challenges that tourism sector in Nepal facing after COVID-19?
Yeah, okay. First of all, because the first thing that happened was our tourism arrivals went down drastically, and it's natural, I guess. We had announced the Visit Nepal 2020 campaign. It was a really huge campaign, hoping to get in at least about 2 million tourists to Nepal. And we had been, the entire travel trade industry, the government of Nepal and the tourism board, we had been really preparing and doing a lot of groundwork preparations within the country, a lot of promotion outside the country, and everything came down to a standstill. Now 2019 we finished with about 1.2 million tourists, which was a good leap compared to the previous year. But again, now this year the first thing that has gone down is the numbers, and with the numbers is of course the businesses, whether it's the airlines, it's the trekking agencies, the travel agencies, the hotels, the big and small, everybody connected with tourism has been very adversely affected, because unlike in many other countries where tourism is a city based or a man-made product, a lot of our tourism is beyond the borders of the of the city limits. And that's how it's not only people who are directly involved in tourism, not selling, only giving facilities or sort of promoting tourism, it's also the villages that people used to pass by. People used to get jobs as porters, as helpers. So it's entire been a total downslide.
Well, Mr. Subedi, you leading countries, private sector association called Trekking Agencies Association of Nepal. What is your observation about the impact and effects of COVID-19 into trekking services and business?
Thank you very much for your questions. Especially thanks again to Yoho television, including you. Especially as the ma'am is explained the effect by COVID-19. Trekking Agencies Association of Nepal, TAAN, not only the tourism activities, we have travels, trekkings, hotels, restaurants, airlines, so many. COVID-19 will affect very much, especially for tourism industry than others. And of course, as the long time is now is 10 months, we are very pity time for us by COVID-19. And our workers and our entrepreneurs is very effect, and we are looking further and further as coming years, but still we are not sure. We are requesting to our concerned authorities, our line ministry, Ministry of Tourism, Nepal Tourism Board, and Ministry of Finance, etc. To and how to protect, how to sustain our industry. We are affected very much, and we are kindly request to our concerned ministry to protect.
What
to
is
us.
their response, Mr. Subedi, concerned ministries and other stakeholders, addressing problems faced by the tourism and trekking sectors, including that of hotels and businesses?
We found is positive response, but no good implementation. Implement is very important. We are requesting to Nepal Rashtra Bank to protect our all tourism industry, but only the paperwork, but not implement. The day before, what I got the message, Nepal Rashtra Bank is finance minister, they done the one good meeting. We are hoping as the refinancing, they are starting to go ahead, and we are hoping all tourism industry to get something. But that is not the long solutions, but we have to looking foreigner tourist, and we are requesting to our government to announce to our international tourist what is the possibilities without any quarantine. 17th quarantine is the no good for international travelers.
So you are expecting some sort of refinancing packages from the government side?
Yes.
Revamping tourism in Nepal?
Yes.
Well, Ms. Thapa, you were mentioning about some challenges, including that of the trekking and tourism sector here in Nepal.
Yes.
What are your key suggestions? You have been engaged in some studies on behalf of Nepal Tourism Board as well.
Yes.
So while revamping tourism, the safety of people, including that of staff, and formal, non-formal sectors in tourism, is major concern.
Yes.
So what are your suggestions ensuring the safety of people engaged in tourism sector, but at the same time revamping tourism in Nepal?
Right, okay. Before I come to this question, I would like to supplement what Mr. Subedi has just said, is because like everybody knows that this is a real time of real crisis, because to run the establishments, to run all the investments, we were looking at almost 18 billion rupees in investments that have been made in the industry, okay? And there are a lot of loans. I mean, they have huge number of staff that have to be kept, in 10 months is not a joke. So one of the first things that the tourism board did after the lockdown was we did a kind of a study, a detailed study about the investments made, the number of people employed, and what the government could do to help the industry stay afloat, just keep the head above water, And so, and of course TAAN and everybody else, I mean, they were our partners in this. So and that's how we found out that we are looking at 18 billion actually in investments now. And then we have been talking to the National Planning Commission. We put in a very strong case with the with the government, with the Ministry of Finance, and that's how they also announced this the loan that could be possible. But again, like Subedi ji said, it is that the paperwork is a little complicated. But then the government did look at it positively. We also tried to introduce the LTC, the leave travel allowance, so that organizations could send their staff on about 10 days vacation, okay, paid vacation. So that would also increase domestic tourism and consumption from the country, within the country itself. So that's some of the things we are doing, and we are still working a lot. And since we are a PPP, a private public partnership between the government, so we are literally we work very closely with the trade, and of course with the government, and we've been working very closely on this. Yeah.
Any estimation of the loss so far in tourism sector overall?
Okay, I think just to sort of it's huge. Probably we would be looking at about what do you say, about 20 billion?
Yes.
But 20
yes, approximate.
Yeah, and that's the figure I gave you, was 20 billion. That's what we asked the government for assistance, is because, and that also would be, and also we were lobbying to see that their loans would be sort of they would get easier the EMIs would be sort of staggered, and they would get additional loans without any major, with like really difficult collaterals and all that. So we are looking at really super losses.
What are your observations or suggestions to the stakeholders, especially government, recovering from these all, losses?
Is the approximately is the our member agencies employees lost the job is 3 million, and we call is the Nepalese rupees is the 15 crores is we lost is for one seasons. That is our approximate cost, and we are the 2000 members. We have is 2000 members through our umbrella organization TAAN, and especially I want to present through your televisions to requesting to again to the government to sustain our tourism industry, to whole tourism industry, travel, trekking, airlines, hotels, or as the rest of others, is the very important for refinancing. And second is the renew loans, and to sustain to our employee or the tourism workers. If we are not able to sustain to our business and not stable point of view to manage our staff, coming years we are getting big problems, because they divert them business, them works. That is big effect.
Well, Mr. Subedi, very interesting thing you shared with us is the sustainability of businesses. Ms. Thapa, could you share with us the best approaches for sustainable business at the time?
Right. Okay. Again, coming back to the study that we did a while. This was done sometime in March, April already. So we just got into action, and so we were looking at ways on how the businesses could sustain themselves despite having any solid income, let's say a monthly income. And so for the first time, the tourism board was really helped by the IFC, the UNDP, because we looked at so we have tied up with them, and usually they just go in for big development projects, and so tourism is just a byproduct. But this time we were able to convince them about the necessity of their presence and their support in supporting tourism. So we looked at two major segments. We looked at some sort of cash inflow or fund support, but that obviously is just not enough to distribute in the market. So we did it another way. So we started creating with a 50% investment from the tourism board and the industry, and the rest from UNDP. So we are doing a lot of cleanup programs, let's say in the Everest area, wherever and the heritage sites and all that, and TAAN is very active. We've already started. So, and obviously we cannot give jobs for it's a not long time, it's a short time thing, but at least it is a source of income. The other thing we are also looking at is also training the people who are involved in the trade, especially at the working level, in alternate livelihoods, like in off season they could learn masonry, they could learn pottery, so they could carpentry, so they could really find another source of income also. So we are looking at different ways of doing it.
Mustafa, these are really impressive initiatives, but there is criticism not only into the field of tourism at the time, because there is unprecedented impact of COVID-19 to all lives.
Yes.
The criticism is that protocols are not maintained. So you came up with a study, the hygiene protocol.
Yes.
So how are you approaching to your stakeholders, including TAAN and others, donors, tackling challenges, and there are also awareness lapses. What are you doing?
Okay, right. Thank you. This is our document. This is the operational guidelines for health protocol within the tourism sector. So this literally covers everything from airport to airport. So you start with what you do when you get into a vehicle, what the vehicle companies, the travel agencies, offices, during trekking, rafting. It covers the entire gamut of activities that would touch a tourist when they come. Okay. Now, normally what we did, and we started this. In fact, I'm really proud to say that we are one of the first countries to come up with the protocols in South Asia. In fact, some of our neighboring countries, they asked us for this copy because we started as soon as the lockdown. We were in office working, and so the UNWTO had sort of published something. The World Health Organization, of course, our Ministry of Health and Population. So that was the basis that we based this on, and again. Our ministry took a lead in this, but then we knew the end user is going to be the entire travel trade industry, not the tourism board per se only. So it was very important that whatever we write in this should be usable by the industry. So we passed the basic draft out to the industry, and they gave in their input. So there was, so we had TAAN, we had like mountaineering and climbing and trekking was all done by TAAN. So it was very important that they, the end user has to feel comfortable, number one, in using it. So this is a product of the entire, this is the voice of the trade and what they feel would work. That's the first thing. Now the second thing also is the compliance to it, right? That's the bigger challenge. And we went ahead with the basic belief that travel has changed today, and any potential tourist is not only going to think about what attractions a destination has or what it's going to cost, but what safety protocols they have in place. That's going to be a deciding factor for any traveler, now post-COVID. So and we were also very sure that whichever agency is handling a group is going to be very sure that they ensure that these protocols are followed by their staff for their own safety, for the safety of the clients. So we thought it will have a kind of ripple effect, and so that was there. So after we came out with this, then we also took it out in Nepali, and in between, in the last few months, there has been a new one that has been helped by the IFC, which is specifically for mountaineering and trekking again, and then we have for spas, we have for different segments, we have come out with various protocols. And for compliance, obviously you need awareness and you need responsibility and accountability to do that also. So in the 7 provinces, NTB has been running training programs in cooperation with various associations. So we have been doing it in person and also on Zoom. So we are trying to bring it across as much as possible. But then you see, at the end of the day, neither we or TAAN, we are not police people, in the sense you cannot take a stick and sort of run behind them. So that's why awareness of the importance of compliance is the key, right? And so in certain cases we have been successful, but in certain cases, yes, there is a lot to be done still.
Well, thank you for these insights.
Yeah.
Mr. Subedi, do you think that your members are aware about these protocols, and what are the major awareness issues that need to be reached out to the larger groups within your network?
Of course, Nepal Tourism Board and various associations has created this safety protocol informations. Its Nepalese context is very hard to implement. We are well known about this safety protocol, but as more people is known, and of course, is the international tourist, definitely they will follow that guidelines, and our operators and guides and porters, they will follow that guidelines, and every member agency teach to our staffs. And that's why we are requesting to our government, we follow safety protocol, safety rules and regulations to welcome to our guests, because in Nepal is COVID-19 especially tourism is much affected. I already mentioned that's why without the 7 days quarantine or rest of difficult safety protocol by government is mentioning us. That's why we want with PCR reports can come international tourists in Nepal. If tourists will come, we are not expected many tourists will come, but little bit tourists will come. That tourists will come, and our member agencies, staffs, guides get some jobs to sustain our business. That's why we are requesting to our line ministry. But still, we try our best through our association and various associations requesting to concern minister or concerned department, Nepal Tourism Board, Department of Tourism and Finance Minister, Health Minister, but is still not implement. We want to request again Yoho television through to our line minister, please, as the welcome to our guest, international guest, to sustain our business, sustain our employee, and we want to follow safety protocol, safety guidelines very properly, and our government can monitoring us, we follow that guidelines or not.
Well, so problem lies within the mobility of tourists that were supposed to come Nepal, but unfortunately not coming. How do you ensure that you focusing on safety of a tourist and all people engaged in these businesses and services? How do you ensure that tourists coming to Nepal they are safe and you provide them with the safe services within your network?
Is the COVID-19 affected by internationally different countries? For example, like US or Europe and rest of other countries, they already used to what is COVID-19 and what effect. And especially, I don't want to say is all tourists will come. Luxury tourists, childrens, they are not interested to visit in far away, including in Nepal. But adventure tourists, they want to come because they already used to COVID-19. That's why we want to focus for adventure tourists, especially for trekking or climbing or rafting or adventure tourists. They will definitely come to Nepal. We have many inquiries just for the adventure tourist. We want to come, but we don't want to stay 7 days quarantine. If your government change the rules and regulations without quarantine can come to Nepal, we are ready to come. Adventure tourists, especially climbing.
So problem is with the quarantine days.
Yes. If
Any
reduced
other
for the quarantine
or technical difficulties?
No, we are going to use to even also our trekking routes in route as the open the hotels as now they used to COVID-19. They are not they don't want to stop the business, they want to go continue because we are facing so many problems, economic problems or job problems, so many things. That's why in route hotels, guest house or our workers or any tourism activities operators, they want to go further stay, further work because they are used to COVID-19. Before we stay in long month, we stay in home, but now we are now outside the home.
Well,
we want to
Mr.
use to
Subedi, very
COVID-19.
interesting things, problems around within these businesses. You are sharing with us very interesting issues, but we are coming to the end of the show. Final thoughts from both of you.
Right.
What could be the alternative ways, revamping tourism in Nepal very quickly?
Okay. So obviously we have to now look at the ways forward. And a complete turnaround might take a year and a half at least now, especially there is hope with the vaccine, like I said in the beginning. So on the base, the tourism board itself, we have changed our strategy a bit. So we are literally looking at a ripple effect. So we are focusing a lot on domestic tourism first to revive. That's probably not going to help, the hotels, let's say in the bigger hotels in Kathmandu or the major trekking companies, because not so many Nepalese do that. But then still, if you look at Pokhara or you look at Nagarkot and all this, and there are many new tourism destinations that the Nepalese are visiting. So we are running a program called the Desh Darshan, and so that is to promote domestic tourism. The next our target market is India and China, obviously, and the one-stop markets. Like Middle East is a very new potential market that we haven't tapped yet. And then, through digital marketing, that's our major focus now. We are looking at the long-haul destinations also because we want Nepal to be in top of the mind recall when tourism slowly starts trickling in. Now that change has already come because like in 2020 we looked at about 222 arrivals totally through the whole year, and that was the first 3 months they had a maximum. There was total slump, Now in the month of October, we had about 500, almost 600 trekkers who came in and mountaineers. But in the month of November, it's gone up to almost 2,000 people. And there are people coming from UK, from US, Sri Lanka, all the South Korea, Spain, Japan. So it's growing, and the government itself has thought about staggering the opening, and that's how we started with mountaineering and trekking, because that has a very positive impact. You're in the open, you're not in a crowded place and things like that. And the tourism board actually gives the the letter of approval in cooperation with TAAN. So in the last 3 weeks, I just checked before I came, there were at least almost 250, requests for recommendations, from various travel companies here, with group sizes from 2 to 25. So that means that interest in Nepal is growing. So that's on one side, and like Subedi ji said, that it is for trekking, they would come anyway. But we want to really reposition Nepal as a wellness destination. This is a place where you could rejuvenate yourself in body, mind and soul. So it is much more than just trekking in mountains.
Well, your final thoughts, Mr. Subedi, very quickly.
Okay, especially is the government look after us. For example, I already mentioned you is a loan, is like a rescheduling, new loans, and to give some benefit to our workers by government. Of course, Trekking Agencies Association of Nepal TAAN to providing our workers for 15,000 Nepali rupees per month by credit card is to facilitate by Massachusetts Bank, and 2 lakhs to 10 lakhs to our owners we will implement. And like for example, like this it's better to do by government to sustain all our tourism industry. And I have a few more points I want to mention you. And government need to give us the free visa. For example, few other countries already is following that guidelines. And without quarantine, is if international tourists interested to visit Nepal, to welcome without quarantine with PCR, and rest of things we will follow, and we want to follow our safety protocols.
Well, Mr. Subedi and Ms. Thapa, thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, time now to wrap up the show. Keep watching us. See you next week. Namaste.